In early 1942, the U.S. found itself with a rather unusual problem: too many aspiring pilots. Following Pearl Harbor, thousands had signed up to become naval aviators. Following training, they were starting to graduate and needed to practice the demanding art of carrier takeoffs and landings. Diverting a large fleet carrier to the task was off the table. There were too few, and they were needed on the front lines in 1942. There were a few escort carriers with more to come, but they were either transporting aircraft, escorting convoys, or already training pilots. What was needed were a couple of no-frills, entry-level carriers for green recruits to practice on. To that end, 2 coal-burning paddle-wheel steamers on the Great Lakes were taken over and converted. The conversion was very minimal. The superstructure was removed, the exhaust canted to the side in a small island, and a flight deck was built on the main deck. There was no hangar, elevator, armament, weapons magazines, radar, or even fuel tanks. Planes could only land and take off again. C&B was acquired March 12, 1942, and began conversion. Renamed Wolverine August 2, 1942, and displacing 7,000 tons, she was commissioned August 12 and began training pilots in January of 1943. Oddly enough, she was the second paddle-wheel steamer named USS Wolverine to serve on the Great Lakes. Propulsion was provided by 4 coal-burning boilers that provided steam for 2 compound reciprocating engines that produced 8,000 horsepower to power the 2 side-mounted paddle wheels. These provided a top speed of 16 knots. The wooden flight deck was 500, later 550 feet by 85 feet. Greater Buffalo was acquired August 7, 1942, and began conversion. Displacing 6,600 tons and renamed USS Sable September 19, 1942, she was commissioned May 8, 1943, and began training pilots May 26, 1943. Propulsion was provided by 4 coal-burning boilers that provided steam for 2 compound reciprocating engines that produced 10,000 horsepower to power the 2 side-mounted paddle wheels. These provided a top speed of 18 knots. The steel flight deck, a first for the Navy, was 587 feet by 85 feet. Both spent the entirety of their career on the Great Lakes, training over 17,000 carrier pilots and landing signal officers. Both were pretty much immediately decommissioned at the end of World War II in early November of 1945 and disposed of. They also serve who only stand and wait.